Hello everyone, watch this review here where they look at Hope Summers from Wave 1 of Hasbro's relaunched Marvel Legends line. Now, I can never get this package to sort of stand up by itself, but interestingly enough, whenever I turn it around, it just kind of balances, which is bizarre. Anybody else notice that? Maybe it's just me, and I've tried it on several different surfaces. It's weird though. One other thing that I haven't really commented on is on the side of the package we have a illustration or a silhouette of Terrax here with the various numbers for the figures that have the corresponding piece, which is, I guess, kind of neat. At any rate, hold on a second and I'll get her out of pack. Hope Summers comes with Tales of Terrax #2, and once again, I'd like to mention that I really wish they'd kind of link the characters into the Build-A-Figure for the wave, sort of like a themed wave or whatnot. Now, we finally did get a resolution to that, just not the one I was hoping for, in the fact that Wave 3 doesn't even have a Build-A-Figure, and they're moving to that mini Build-A-Figure system, so, At any rate, instead of getting a sort of backstory of how the character you bought relates to the Build-A-Figure, you have some unrelated character. In this case, it's Galactus. Now, we all know that Terrax was one of Galactus's... Shoot, now I'm totally blanking on the word. Sentry, Sentinel... Herald, yes. Herald of Galactus. But what I wasn't aware of was that I guess Galactus actually made a deal with the Fantastic Four to beat up some alien dictator, bring him to Galactus to turn into a herald, so that's kind of interesting, a neat little bit of trivia. On the back we have the checklist as always, also with the instructions how to build him. Now the axe originally came in 2 pieces. This is technically my second or third thing shooting the video, so I did assemble this thing twice. All it is you just pop this portion in, and bam, done. She also comes with the head of Terrax. As you'll notice, these kind of crazy silver eyes, and then a weapon, which I still don't know what it really is. I think it's some sort of a energy blaster rifle thing. All I know is it's definitely like some kind of rifle. It's this sort of crappy gunmetal gray. I mean, it really needs some sort of real color use, but I don't know. I mean, it's just an accessory. I guess it's not as important as the figure itself. And as for the figure, I think that Hope Summers came out pretty well here. Now, when the wave was first announced, I thought it'd be kind of cool to pick up the character, even though I don't really know anything about it. Just I kind of like the look and design of her. But then when it was first hitting retail and stuff, it was kind of lukewarm. Now, yeah, definitely liking this one. Now, the one sort of general issue I have in terms of like newer characters is I'm not so much into comics as I am to the materials surrounding comics. So like your video games, your TV shows, your cartoons, movies, and all that. And typically those don't keep as current with the characters and what's going on with comics, so a lot of characters I'm not as aware of. Hope Summers, I don't think I've ever read in any comic. Well, at least not in this form. I might have read something where she was a baby, but nah. You don't really so much need to know about a character to appreciate a really good character design, and as such is the case here. Now, given that I don't really know much about the character, I did have to look up the height. A few reviewers had commented that she was a little too tall, so naturally I looked up. Supposedly she's 5'6", 5'6". To compare, here's Madame Mask, who is supposed to be like 5'9". And because Hasbro uses a lot of the same parts for their female figures, the heights are relatively close. So, I mean, yes, she is a little tall, but not horrendously tall. I mean, given it's 5'6" versus 5'9", maybe she'd be up to Madame Mask's eyes normally. The one sort of grace area here is, if you notice, her hair just sort of adds to the height a lot, so technically she could really be shorter, but the hair makes her appear a bit larger, so it's cool. And speaking of the hair, it's really beautifully done. A lot of strands are sculpted in here, a lot of lines and stuff. My only real criticism is this really crappy glossy plastic. There's no real paint or anything. I guess from a distance it kind of looks cool, but up close, I don't know. Just kind of doesn't do it. The actual face sculpt is pretty decent as well. Great looking figure all around. Now she does have this really well decoed cloak here, and they sort of use the same color scheme on both the leather parts of the gauntlets and the greaves. It's a sort of I think it's a tan where they just tossed a light brown coating on top. Or it could be the other way around, which is cool. Either way. And then for the actual body, it's a sort of glittery green paint, but if you look closely, you will notice that they have darker and lighter hues in places. Like around the hips, it's a bit lighter, and then it's darker. I'm guessing they probably just used a bit more paint in some areas than others. Of course, many of them sort of have errors where the yellow paint has some sort of a splotch or something. It sort of breaks the design. Not a huge issue, but still kind of noticeable. Also, by the way, for the whole height thing, I mentioned this the first time I did the video, completely forgot. But if you'll notice, many of the packs, the legs, are kind of warped because of the way the plastic holds it. Now, ordinarily, I hate seeing warped joints, but on teen characters, it's kind of acceptable because teens are often portrayed as slouching as opposed to the adult characters who sort of stand up straight, so it almost adds a little character to the figure, which is kind of neat in a way. In terms of articulation, it's more or less what you see on the other female figures from the line. The one sort of major difference is the head here, which only gets rotation because of the hair and the sort of mantle cloak. Otherwise, I imagine it would probably get up down as normal. Other than that, we have a slight forward-back motion on the torso joint as well as a full range of rotation. A sort of ball-socketed shoulder. As always, no bicep cut, or no bicep joint at all. And I am okay with that, again, because it looks kind of funky having a big ball at the bicep for female characters. So instead, we get the sort of ball and socket here at the elbow. The sort of interesting thing is the way the joint's set up. It actually bends a bit backwards, which I guess is kind of cool as an additional posing option, but practically you wouldn't ever really use it. The gauntlets rotate full 360, and then we have a sort of ball and socket here at the wrist. These sort of in, out, up, down, all around. Now the fingers are apportioned, so it looks like the gun could almost be held in either hand, but it looks like it's more posed for the left hand, or sorry, the right hand. Not sure if I'll pose it with the gun that often, just because the gun looks so cheap. Sort of usual lined balls here at the hips, so you have to sort of line the joint up the way you want it to go, and then moves in and out. And of course, rotation at the upper thigh, double pin at the knee. Then, given that it's from wave 1, actually I think most of the female figures, if not all of them so far, lack ankle rockers, but this is no exception. It's just got the sort of usual ball and socket. Not a huge issue. I think she poses fine without the ankle rockers, so I'm not too bothered with it. Once again, all around decent figure. When I was first checking these out at retail, kind of wasn't that interested, but I am happy I indeed picked it up, and again, that's mostly because I will be assembling Terrax at this point. As soon as my Extremis Iron Man arrives, but I'm waiting for that because I've got a bunch of other stuff in shipment. But that's completely off tangent. This has been a look at Hope Summers. A very decent figure. Definitely one of the sort of cooler ones from the new relaunched Marvel Legends line. Although again, it does sort of reuse parts from some of the older stuff, like from the 2-packs that were done right before the relaunch. Until next time, folks.